Hello, everybody. This is Jacob Sapochnik with the Enchanting Lawyer Podcast. It's a show where we interview the most inspiring entrepreneur professionals from all over the world that share their experience, stories, and inspire us to do better what we do. And today, I just finished 2 amazing days here in San Diego at the Marketing World conference. It was amazing, and our guest today is a person that was at a conference, very influential and important to social media in the world. And I have Emeric Ernoult here today. And Emeric is a French national. He was named one of the top 40 digital strategists in the world by World Online Marketing Institute. He's the founder of Agora Pulse, a platform that manages Facebook pages by measuring app statistics, moderation, and qualifications. He's a serial entrepreneur, and most importantly, he's a former recovering attorney. And I think it'll be a great discussion to hear his perspective. Emeric, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jacob. I'm very happy to be here.
Very good. And once again, people can hear your wonderful accent. You're French, and I'm delighted to have another country in our interviews roster for the podcast. So, Emeric, I'm going to let you introduce yourself a little bit, and then we'll talk about some of the cool things we learned in the past few days. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you to what you're doing right now?
Of course. So I'm, like you said, I'm a French national, but I had this little peculiarity, which I was born in New York because my parents used to live in New York. They lived there 7 years. And then they traveled to Africa for another 7 years. So I've been traveling a lot. I always consider myself a citizen of the world. I've never had really a place that I call home. I call home the place I'm currently living in, wherever it is. And I've been always very, very open to discovering new culture and speaking foreign languages, and not to feel like I belong somewhere. I really like traveling and meeting different people from various cultures, and obviously being born in the U.S. Has always been a lead in my life. Like that was a country I was curious about. I wanted to discover, visit, travel to. So I've been coming here a lot. And so you want interesting being an ex-lawyer, I guess, or recovering lawyer.
Yeah. I was saying that I was curious really to know about. You told me you were an attorney. Really, the journey that led you, first of all, to become a lawyer, and then taking a different direction.
Well, that's it's a very good question, and the answer will quite amuse you, because I think. Like a lot of people, when I was 18, about to get out of high school, I had no clue what I wanted to do in life, no clue whatsoever. So I went to see a therapist or something like that, someone who helps you by knowing you better and who you are, gives you direction.
This is counselor.
This is probably, it's kind of a counselor over that. I was specifically giving advice on what career choices would correspond to your personality. And she told me, you're very intelligent, you're very smart, you have a very high IQ and stuff, but you're also very independent, and you will not like big corporations and big companies and having lots of bosses and stuff and report to a lot of people. So you got to choose a profession that gives you some level of independence, and based on your abilities, intellectually, you could do this or you could do that. And one of the options she gave me was being a lawyer and study law. And I reviewed the possibilities, and some of them were like, very high levels, super selected schools, very hard. So you have to work like a dog for 2 years. And I didn't quite feel that way when I was in my 20s. Right. So I said, let's go study law. And I studied law, and it worked well. So, I was one of the top 5%, blah, blah, blah. Well, you have to know, everybody can go to university in France. It's very different from here. So when you're good enough, you're easily in the first 10% of your class. So it's not any big achievement here. So it worked out for me, and I went through the years, first, second, until the seventh, and got the master's degree and stuff. And luckily enough, we had to do a mandatory military service in France when I was 25. It's not the case anymore, but it was at the time. And I didn't want to do it. I would have killed, both my parents not to go and, crawl in the mud with a gun for a year or so. It was really something I didn't want to do. And you had the opportunity to do the civil military service, mostly in embassies abroad. And there were a couple, like 4 or 5 spots for lawyers, and I got one of them. So I worked for the embassy in Washington, D.C. as an in-house lawyer for almost 2 years, and that was really great. And then moved to a law firm in Washington, D.C. called Winston & Strawn, a very, very cool law firm. I had a very great time. I moved back to Paris, and I did that lawyer thing for 4 or 5 years, which I enjoyed very much, but my take on it is it was a very interesting job, but I was looking for a more passionate job. I needed more passion, and I was not passionate about the legal work. I was interested by it, and as every young guy in his 20s, you always want more, and you want the passion, and you want everything, and just interesting is not enough.
Right.
And I think I've been diagnosed with the entrepreneurship syndrome since I was a very young kid, and the total inability to work for others and to be given orders and directions and stuff like that.
Right.
So as a lawyer, you're somehow independent, but you always, unless you create your own law firm like you did, and then you're a real entrepreneur with all the hurdles and hassles that go with it. You're usually always working for someone. And when the internet bubble came along and everybody wanted to create a web company and be successful, and everybody was a potential millionaire in the early 2000s, a friend of mine was working in a web agency, and he had a couple of ideas. I had a couple of ideas, and we kept chatting about them. And we said, "Hey, let's go. Let's make that entrepreneur dream come true and create some company here." And so that's what I did in 2000, and that's where it has all started.
Right.
Since then, I've created 4 companies. Not all of them have been successful, to be totally honest. Some of them were actually pretty blunt failures, but I've learned a lot along the way, and I've enjoyed the process, which is the most important part for me. Even though I'm making a lot less money, I've been making a lot less money after I quit being a lawyer than when I was a lawyer. But I realized that around the age of 30, that making more money was not the thing I was after in life. It's nice to have, but as long as you have enough, the most important thing is really doing the thing that you feel you're meant for.
Right.
You feel inside of you that this is the one thing that gives my life sense. So.
And following your passion. And before we talk about the things you've done, Emeric, and the things that you do right now, I'm curious to know about what is one thing that you took being a lawyer and helped you in your journey as an entrepreneur to this day?
Wow. Many things. I would cite 2 instead of 1. I was a merger and acquisition lawyer, and I was involved in very high-profile merger and acquisitions, and so I got to meet a lot of very high-profile CEOs from big companies, high-profile investors. So I got to meet people I would have never met if I was not involved in that profession, for sure. And actually, 2 of them become my angel investors when I decided to start businesses. So the relationships and the level of relationships I was able to have access to being a lawyer was like priceless. And I don't think there are a lot of professions around that give you access to that. That's the first thing. The second thing is everything legally, that has some legal implication or legal related in business life is not frightening to me. It's for me, it's commonplace. For me, it's something that I'm familiar with. And a lot of my friends who are entrepreneurs, every time they have an employment conflict or a conflict with an employee, or they have to draft a contract to make a deal with someone, or they're selling their company or whatever. These things happen a lot in the life of an entrepreneur. They're scared. They're like, oh, I don't even understand the language. I don't understand the words. I don't know. I'm afraid maybe I'm going to get screwed, or something bad's going to happen to me in the process, and because I don't understand how it works and what it means, I feel lost. And having done that as a lawyer makes all these things totally familiar to me, and I'm not lost, and I'm not afraid, and I'm not frightened. I know exactly what it's about. And yes, sure, I still hire lawyers to do it, but I know exactly what they're doing. I can have better conversation with them because I know exactly what they need to know. I can do the groundwork, so they don't have to invest many hours when they work for me, because they know exactly where they add value, and they say, don't spend too much time on this and this and that. That's okay. I handle that. Or it's not important to me, but just focus your time on this and this and that, because I know this is where the important stuff is going on, and you as a lawyer, as a professional lawyer, will help me. So it's a big help. It's a big help.
Absolutely.
As an entrepreneur, you get to discover a ton of things, and you get to be, not knowledgeable on a lot of things, and not being knowledgeable on all these things, which sometimes can have a big impact on your business, can be scary and difficult to deal with.
Right. Excellent. And, I tend to agree as well. I mean, of course, I do a lot of things outside of my law firm, and a lot of this things, the way you think, the way you apply your skills are always coming from the core things that we learned in law school and actually being practicing attorneys. So it's very important. Emeric, I wanted to, before we talk about what you do right now, and you do a lot of interesting things, I wanted to ask you some of the takeaways that you took personally from the last few days spending in here in San Diego at this marketing conference, social media marketing world, which was a beautiful conference, top minds, good people that are sharing ideas and trying to teach the most effective ways to use this medium and help clients. So I wanted to ask you, looking at this from the other side, as somebody that develops products, what are some of the takeaways that you learned and you want to share with us that became useful for users, professionals using this right now?
So you want the takeaway from my perspective as someone who's developing a product and trying to sell a product?
Yeah. So maybe from this perspective, but also kind of like the general theme of this conference, because I think there's been a lot of new things that were shared, and maybe you can kind of voice it so our listeners can learn a bit of what some of the new trends that we heard in the last 2 days of this conference.
The funny part, I will not know, and I will not help you a lot with the new trends. I go very little to listen to what the speakers say about the actual content. And that's my takeaway from the conference. My takeaway from this conference or any other conference is, in business as in life, it all comes down to the relationship and the quality of the relationship you are able to build with the people who are in your ecosystem. It is also true with your clients, with your partners, with your suppliers, with the people you buy from. But especially when it comes to the ecosystem, which is what this conference is all about for me, the entire social media marketing ecosystem gathers in San Diego once a year for Social Media Marketing World, and it's each and every one of them. If being present in the ecosystem is important for you, and it is important for me as someone who sells a product, who develops a product in the social media marketing world, if that is important, then the quality of the relationship will never be at the right level if you don't meet them in person, if you don't interact with them face to face, if you don't give them a chance to feel the tone of your voice, how truthful or not truthful you may sound, how helpful or not helpful you may want to be with them. I mean, all these things that just go back to a very simple concept. We're human beings, and we like to relate with people, and we like to feel that we're being listened to, that our story sounds interesting, that we're interested into the stories of others, and we just by doing that, create the right quality relationship that ultimately lead to being mentioned, being recommended, being part of the presentation. My tools was mentioned in like several presentations by several speakers. Right. All that is only to one thing. I've been coming to this conference and other conferences many, many times just to build trust and a good quality relationship with them. And that's what it's all about. And the one thing it tells all your listeners is go out, put your butt in a plane, go meet or go where those people you want to connect with are gathering, and do it consistently for 2 or 3 years. It doesn't work if you only do it once. It works if you do it several times in a consistent manner. And make sure that you're interacting with them in a way that they remember you, and they want to remember you because they had a good time and they had a fun time, or you've been helpful with them, you've done something positive for them. That's all it's all about. Everything else is nice. All the content is nice. All the sessions are high quality. The speakers are delivering great content. But for me, it's the cherry on top. The core thing to get there is the relationship and the network.
Right, and I have to agree on that, Emeric, because I've been coming to many of these conferences for the past 3 years, and many, a lot of the relationship I've made helped not only in my legal business, but also just be able to connect other people, and learn. So I agree with what you say. This is very powerful. But I'll tell you, as somebody that attended some of these sessions, it seems to me, and I wanted to get your take as well, is that the common ground here is that people are saying that Facebook remains the main platform that really has enough audience that justifies the marketing investment, the money that businesses spend to get the message out. And I would like to get your take on this, and then we can talk about your company, because I think it's a very exciting product that you have that will connects directly with this question.
Well, I think there is also a reaction to like the Facebook reach is dead. Facebook doesn't want brand anymore. They're forcing brand to pay. I hate Facebook. Facebook sucks. All those rants we've been hearing for the last year.
Right.
Yes, it is not the easy platform with the big reach and the big results that we used to have in the very early days in 2009 and 2010 and a couple of years after that. It's more and more difficult. It's more and more crowded for sure. But it's still huge, and it's still the place where most people hang out and spend their time on. And the thing with Facebook is the free stuff the last couple of years, but the paid stuff is super powerful when you use it right. When you leverage Facebook ads the right way, it is still the platform where you can reach the most targeted people. And if you do it with the right message and with the right strategy, it is incredibly effective. And when you combine an organic presence with a well executed paid strategy, Facebook is definitely the most effective platform. Twitter does great things. LinkedIn does something as well, although I've found LinkedIn very, very expensive for that matter. But if you really want to reach the masses, there's no equivalent to Facebook, even in our industry. Just to give you a number, so our tool allows people to manage Facebook pages, Twitter accounts, and Instagram accounts. And when you look at the number of people who install a Facebook page and a Twitter account, the number of people who install a Twitter account on our platform is just 35% of the entire population of our users. So it tells you something. And you're talking social media managers, community managers. You're talking people who are active on social media and who are probably advanced compared to the typical business owner. So it's Facebook is the number one from far, and then the others are just behind or slightly behind or a lot behind, but it remains the big platform. It remains the dominant platform for sure.
And I totally agree, and I can see it in my own business that we put a lot of emphasis on Facebook in the past 2 years, and it's definitely paying off. Emeric, why don't you tell us about Agora Pulse in a few sentences, what it is and what's the benefit of using it?
Well, in a very few sentences, because I'm not very good at pitching my product. I hate being salesy. Our goal is to make social media management simple. So even if it's not and especially if it's not your main job and your main function, you should be able to manage your social media account and your social media presence in, let's say, 15, 20 minutes per day, and make sure that you're not missing anything, that you're replying to everybody that who's awaiting a reply, and that you're doing your job as not letting an insert thing there. That's the main goal. We really want to make this simple, and we think the tools that exist on the market today are not simple enough for the most part, and not making things easy enough. So that's the first goal. And the second big vision that we have is that the whole value in being present on social media is by having quality relationship with the right people. And whether you do it on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, at the end of the day, it's not the number of clicks, it's not the conversion rate, it's not the number of people who buy your product, because you can't actually measure that, or that's very hard to measure and evaluate. But the one thing you can measure and evaluate is the number of high-quality relationships with people who are your core target audience. How many of those relationships you'll be able to build and nurture this month, being present and engage on social media. And that's the one thing that we're looking to now. Helping you, like, for example, for you, that would be people who are looking to, as lawyers, be more present, be better at online marketing, or
right.
if you're looking at your law firm, people who are looking to get a visa to enter the United States or invest in the United States, these would be your core target audience. My core target audience would be social media agencies or digital agencies who need a tool to manage their client social media presence, or social media managers, community managers, freelance, or small business who have a presence on social media. But we all have our core target audience. If by using a tool to manage our presence on social media, we can actually accurately measure the number of those people we've been able to engage with in a qualitative manner for a given period of time, then at least we have a sense of the assets social media allows us to create and the value we were able to create out of this very time-consuming activity that is social media, and that it would give it more meaning and more sense. So that's our big vision. That's the one thing we want to address.
And I think that that kind of data is going to become more and more important as more people are going to be realizing the value of Facebook and using it as a conversion tool, and also as a tool to disseminate information. So I'm very excited to try and dive more into this. Emeric, I wanted to ask you. You mentioned in the beginning that in early 2000 you created a company that wasn't successful. And I think I always like to ask successful entrepreneurs about their failures. And this is something I'm curious to know from you. What is the one or two things you learned from that experience? And maybe you want to share it in a few sentences about that.
Of course. Well, the first thing I've learned from the first company I launched in 2000, it was hard because 2000 the web was a baby. Mm-hmm. There was no book, there was no blog. There was nowhere you can get information and learn and have a better understanding as to what could work and what couldn't work and what direction. I mean, no one was sharing their past failures so you can learn from them. So mm-hmm. we were basically blind and thinking, we basically created a company that was exactly what Facebook became in 2004. So it was four years before Facebook, so wrong timing. And it was in the wrong country because it was in France. And obviously, a company like this in these years could have only be successful in the U.S. But we had no clue and no way to find that out. So it was quite difficult. And it was hard to succeed. But the main thing is the business model was not very clear. We were young and we thought that we could have an advertising business model, and we didn't have a clue that to have a decent advertising business model, you need millions and millions of page views and visitors and stuff like that. And obviously, getting to that was very hard for two young guys, as Benoit and I were at the time. Since then, the things I've learned is that when things are not working well, mm-hmm. don't stick with it for too long. I mean, yes, stay around, try harder, be consistent. Don't give up too soon. All that is very true, but don't give up too late either. And that's one of the mistakes I've made with the very first company. I gave up too late. I should have given up too earlier than we actually did. If things are not working, set deadlines. Okay, if by June I don't get there, then I should really give a hard look to that business and may pivot or find another direction or a totally different business. But life is very short. We grow old very fast, and if we don't cut things that are not taking us where we want to go, we may get dragged into a so working business that we're not very happy with for too long, and this is not something we want in our lives. So that's one of my big learnings. And the other big learning is really that relates to the comment I made about the conference. Relationships are everything. So of course you need a product. Yes, you need a market for that product. So you need people who want to buy that product and use that product. So you want to bring benefit to them with that product. But once you have all that, it's whom you connect with and whom you know and whom you get to know who is going to make a big difference. So focus on having a network and nurturing that network and creating the right bonds. So when you need it, you have it. Because if you start, oh gosh, I have a product, there is a market for that product, I don't know anybody, so basically the only mean I have to promote my product is to spend tons of money in AdWords and Facebook ads, and I don't have a ton of money, you're stuck. So you need to build that network before you actually need it. It's a very common advice, but it's so true. So when you need it, when it can be helpful to you, it's there, and it's at the reach of your hand. So
excellent. This is very valuable advice. Thanks, Emeric. And I've been asking this next question a few people in the past few days, and I'm very curious to get your take on it. So, what do you think? To what extent you think that a business Facebook page is important compared to a website, and because it's kind of been evolving over the past several years. But if somebody says, my web strategy right now is to have a good website, a blog, where do you see a strong Facebook page in this equation, and why?
Well, I think they're all giving good advice. You should have your own homepage. You should have your own blog and your own website, and we do, and thank God we do. There could be a lot of reasons to have a Facebook page. Let's take two different types of Facebook page owners. The first type is the brand or the business or the organization that is in let's say a sexy activity. So a sexy activity could be a high-profile nonprofit. People love nonprofit Facebook pages are just killing it on Facebook. But it could be a brand that people find sexy, and for those brands, getting engagement and getting people to like, share, comment, be engaged, it's a walk in the park. It's very easy. So it's a no-brainer. If your brand is attractive and sexy, yes, of course, a Facebook page is the best asset you can have to generate engagement and awareness around your brand. And let's cite another example because I saw it recently on Facebook and I was amazed by the result. If you are local, Facebook is incredibly successful in promoting local businesses. And I remember that case of a restaurant on the beach in Australia that was about to open. So they were building the restaurant, and they started that Facebook page, and they promoted that Facebook page in the very locally, like in the town, in the city they were building restaurants on. And they started to get incredible engagement as they were building the restaurant. It was not even open.
Right.
And they were saying, how the decoration was going on, what kind of lounge chairs they were choosing, what do you think, this one or that one. And people were incredibly engaged. And the restaurant opened, it was like totally full the first night because everybody in the city heard about the restaurant and saw the page. They did a couple of ads, which was smart, and that was a super successful launch. So when you're very local, you don't have to spend much to create awareness and visibility around what you're trying to create. So that's also a very good reason to leverage Facebook, the page plus a little paid ads around that. And the third types of business, there may be more, but I'm trying to make things simple, would be a not so sexy business. And that's the case of mine, for example. I'm not so sexy. I'm not a very sexy business.
Right.
I sell an app for a B2B company, nothing sexy about this. But I leverage paid on Facebook very much. And when you have a page, and you at least maintain a decent activity on it and with decently good content, let's say, if you want to advertise on Facebook, you can only have access to the newsfeed ad if you have a page. You cannot do newsfeed ads if you don't have a page. So if you only have a website and you're advertising for the website, you will only have access to the sidebar ad, which are kind of less effective, get less click-through rate, and for some type of content are not going to do a very good job. So depending on the kind of ad you want to do, having a page is the only way so you can access the newsfeed and advertise on the newsfeed. So that reason alone is a good reason to have a page with some activity on it. That would be, the least common denominator of why you should have a Facebook page.
No, I think this is a great tips that you just shared, because a lot of the people that listen to this show are professionals, attorneys, accountants, different people that have a local business, and I think this is the key here. If you know how to target the local population, you know how to use the local features. This is one of the most powerful tools out there, and I think this is great. So we'll share links to your to Agora Pulse on our on the show notes, and I'll people can kind of check it out and see how it can benefit their businesses if they use Facebook. So Emeric, as we come to the end of our show, I wanted to ask you something unrelated. I mean, I know you're a big fan of kite surfing. What are some of the activities you like to do when you're not working and hustling your business?
What are the things I like to do when I'm not working?
Yeah,
kite surfing is definitely one of them, big time. As you probably know, being an entrepreneur is sometimes a difficult place to be in because your brain is 24/7 thinking, analyzing, trying not to forget, I need to write an email, I need to do this, I need to do that blog post, I need to change the homepage or whatever. You know what it is. It's
Absolutely.
kind of overwhelming. And we need to find ways that we can let go. Our brain is not working on the business anymore, it's just working on the moment, on enjoying the moments. And kite surfing is one of these activities that give me that. So I love it because I feel relieved. I feel like I can let go and focus on the moment and having my moment of fun. And obviously, trying to be present with your family and your kids, which is incredibly difficult when you're an entrepreneur because of the reasons I've just mentioned. Making this effort to be really 100% with them when you're not working is also super important and super rewarding. And driving my 160 horsepower Italian motorbike.
That's what I heard. I heard you're getting too many tickets in France recently.
Yeah, I got a lot of tickets. At some point, we have 12 points. At some point, I only had 2 left. So I had to leave the motorbike in the garage for a couple of months. So
That's what I heard.
Back. But yeah, it's and I'm not advising anyone to speed or anything, but that bike is so powerful that it's very easy to get just even 10 miles above the limit, and you get caught very often.
Absolutely, we're not advocating here anybody to drive fast on their motorcycles. That's a disclaimer between lawyers,
absolutely, right? Absolutely not. But sometimes when you enjoy a powerful vehicle, it's hard to keep below the limit because you just push a little bit and boom, you exceed it.
Absolutely.
That's these are the things, and enjoy meeting people and traveling a lot, which is also super rewarding.
And Emeric, mentioning traveling, I wanted to let you know that I enjoy traveling too. That's one of my favorite things to do, kind of to unwind. So I look forward to seeing you again in Paris, just like we met last year this summer when I come in my escape from work. So make sure you take some time so we can meet.
Sure, I will. You bet. No problem.
Perfect. So, Emeric, I wanted to thank you again for coming on the show, and we'll put links to agorapulse.com if anybody wants to connect with Emeric and get some more information about what he does. And the entrepreneur lawyer, we're really excited to share this episode with you. If you have any questions, email me at jacob@enchantinglawyer.com, and we'll see you at our next episode. Thank you so much, Eric, for coming on the show again.
Thank you for having me.